welcome to the Alyssa Faden Studios channel. I've never said that before. It's a thing. We are mapping Welcome My Legions to what we're drawing tonight. And this is episode 3 of Age of Antiquities. You can see this little puppy right here. Now, this is a city in the early stages. We're going to be drawing this throughout summer, and it's going to be on one of our main projects. Currently negotiating 2 other projects that might be happening at the same time. Not sure if they're going to happen, but we're definitely working this one. And it's meant to be maybe one of my largest maps that I have ever drawn. So welcome, pull up a pew, make yourself comfortable. Let's draw a city together. And I get my pen. Here we go. So, what are we doing here, and what are we doing tonight? So, last time we drew this. Let's get my pen here. We drew this harbor area. That's all locked in. Client loves what we're doing with this. I'm kind of tempted to draw like these other POIs, but I don't want to kind of get too distracted with that type of thing just yet until we're actually working that area. So, let me just get this turned off in the background because we don't need anyone joining us. This is our little private moment right here, and we don't need anyone else nudging in. Oh no. So, I don't know if you know this, but on Facebook I have a how-to guide on how to draw a city, and we're up to episode 5. I think 4 have released or will be releasing, but every other week or so we release a new chapter. Also on my Patreon I have a written version of that, and they're kind of like companion sets to each other. They don't repeat each other, but they're kind of on the same timeline in the same city, talking about how to draw the same sort of buildings in the same sort of area. They're a great pair. Well, you know what? This map here is the same deal. So if you're watching this on Twitch after the fact, or if you're watching this on YouTube, go check out my how-to videos and go check out my Patreon. Consider maybe signing up for that how-to guide, because if you want to know how to draw a city, these 3 things happening at the same time, you'll know. Okay? And if you missed the first 2 episodes of the Age of Antiquity, get your ass back over there and watch them, because it will catch you up. Okay? So with that said, I'm kind of tempted to actually work this area for 2 reasons. One, it's going to be a little bit of a tiny warehouse area. This one will be bigger. This is the main harbour right there. But we can actually get a couple of little warehouses done and kind of move over that direction and start going into the slums. Normally, by the way, right about now, I would be drawing, not this freaking big, I would be drawing the actual towers and gateways on the walls. I kind of don't want to do that right now. You know what I'm saying? I've done videos of that so many times. It's kind of like at this point, let's get into the meat and potatoes. So that's what we're going to be doing. I think I did give myself a note section, didn't I, on this one? I did. Alright, 30 pix coastline. So, buildings, I think 20 pix. I think so. Little tiny buildings. Yeah, that's got a pretty good weight to it, so that's what we're gonna do. $20 pixels for the buildings. Okay. And we are going to, I think, actually, I'm going to get rid of this trace here. I'm going to keep the gateways, but we don't need this going on. We don't need them. Let's get rid of them. And I know I'm going to do a tower here, so I don't need to mark it just yet. Let's do something like this. Kind of, sort of, maybe here actually. So we're gonna have And we'll definitely have one here. Alright, so we've got a road coming in through here. I like having a road there, I think. We've got a main road here. Maybe we'll have a minor road or something come through that way. Those are going to be where my gatehouses are going to be. I think we are ready to get some buildings on here. Now, I've called it ink, but I'm actually going to call this buildings right now. I'm going to draw this on a separate layer. And before we do this, so I've mentioned this in other videos. Mark off your not to draw a building in this spot area. I need that to be a catchier phrase, but you get the idea. I'm talking about like regions where there won't be buildings, right? In fact, let's change it to that one. That's pretty thick, but I'm gonna stick with it. That's a thick boy. I'm not gonna draw any buildings between the wall and this road here. This is a fairly military-like area. This is going to be a pretty big garrison. The island there is a pretty big garrison. They need to be able to move along the walls, alongside the walls, quickly and easily. So I'm pretty sure that they would prevent buildings from cropping up and blocking their path, you know? So I'm just gonna block off that area. Kind of reserve space, think of it that way. Something like that. But I also want to do something similar along the edge here. Now, warehouses can abso-freaking-lutely jut into the water. Just look at pictures of London docks and you'll see plenty of warehouses that actually go partway into the water's edge, you know, for loading and unloading purposes and things like that, and that's perfectly cool. But I don't want to do that here. I don't want to do that in this particular instance because this is almost a secondary dock. This is the main area. This is going to be where the warehouses are at, and I want a different feel this time. So I'm actually going to reserve our warehouses back across the road a little bit. This is more of a like small boats, small shipping boats, small containers. They can haul this shit in. They can get it on the roads. They can get it on their cars almost immediately. This is not a major industrial area. So I want to kind of get that different vibe going on, if you feel me. Hey, green. Wow, almost English. Let's start that again. Hey, GL, how are you? Different map. You actually then have not seen this map, GL, have you? Ooh, and you know what I should do is I should get my scale. Is that my scale? Really? Oh, okay, that's a big scale. So let's just turn that off. What about this one? There we go, that's what I want. Let's decide on a building size right now. I think warehouses about 80 to 160 feet are probably appropriate. So I'm thinking about, let's bring this guy. Yeah, more like that size right there, actually, like that. This city's gonna be so freaking huge. Oh my god. Yeah, okay, so if I mark this, Let me just get our general scale and then we can kind of go from there. This brush seems big, but let's try it. Let's just draw a few buildings here and then we can see what we're dealing with. Right, let's turn that scale off. Alright. I think that could work. I'm a little concerned at the sheer scale of this particular map. But let's try it. Let's try it. Hey, Clever. Good to see you. Good to see you. So this, just so if you've not seen this one before, this is for a new client. It's called Age of Antiquities. They originally contacted me about drawing Rome, and they don't really need Rome. They just need an ancient feeling map. This is actually going to be more Greek, Mediterranean-like, but it's huge. 200,000 people live here. It's one of the biggest cities we've ever drawn. Our buildings are going to be small. Now, we will have rich compounds and larger buildings, temples, you know, things like that. But our actual core buildings are going to be teeny tiny. We've just drawn some buildings that are like 160 feet across. I mean, like, wow. Wow. This is just going to be a mass, such a high density of little tiny buildings. Now, actually, let me get back to our trace. I'm actually going to reserve this spot right here. That road is probably about 40 feet across, which I think is a good size. I don't normally decide a scale up front, by the way. Building size, building density typically accommodates for it. But when we're trying to shoot for a very high number, like 200,000, I think you kind of gotta. So I'm going to be referencing that scale a few more times. Alright, that's going to be a fairly major road. This one's probably more like 60, maybe even 100 feet across. Alright. And this area here, we need to make slums. So, we'll have some fun with that in a moment. I think my objective tonight is to really try and get a lot of work done in this area. Not sure if we'll finish it, but we're going to give it a good go. And one problem with drawing at this scale too is it's going to be harder to get individual building details in there, but I think that's okay too. Now, as I indicated earlier, this is more of a fishing dock area. It's not really major like loading unloading facilities. I want to just imply that we do have some like larger storage facilities here. Maybe like a Pike's Fish Market type of thing from Seattle. Hey, Miss J. Wow, it's been a while, young lady. How are you? Now, this is not a particular named area, so I want to really resist the temptation to start doing all sorts of little tiny details and such. Maybe the smallest buildings I have ever freaking drawn in my life. Actually, Miss J, did you see the progress on my Viking map? I posted it in the Discord, but I don't know if you've been catching that. I'm pretty close to being done with it. Just got a couple more things. It's a very different map than what I would normally do. You spotted it. Nice, nice. Yeah, Miss J, so the scale of this one, actually, you can see it right here. Well, there's the Colosseum. But, yeah, like, here's 80 feet right there. So, what I've drawn is I've got slum-sized buildings, regular-sized buildings, slightly more opulent buildings, and then very rich, sprawling sort of villas and the likes. And they're teeny tiny, girl. It's teeny tiny. It's a lot of drawing on this one. The population of this city is going to be 200,000. So I started off actually researching ancient cities with a similar population count. Byzantium came up. And then I looked at the square or the dimensions of Byzantium and applied it here. And from that I derived the scale. And I was like, alright, so apparently I'm drawing to that scale. And it's going to be a little bit scary. It's going to be a little bit scary, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm a little bit intimidated by what we've taken on here. But this is the main project for the summer period. At least on stream. I potentially have 2 more maps to do. One of which will happen over the same time period. But I have a suspicion that I will be under an NDA and won't be able to stream that one. I suspect. Unconfirmed at this point. Contract still being negotiated. The frame, I'm really happy with the frame on the Salt Walls of the Whale Road. With that one, you know, with it being an illuminated, right? Illuminated? Yeah. Yeah, with it being an illuminated map, I knew that it would have to be way more decorative than I normally do. And so I intentionally, you know, kind of went all out on it. But I got like a little fixated by this frame. Like I would think about the frame all of the time, to the point where it actually started to distract me from the content of the map. Like I wasn't sure how to approach the contents itself, but the frame I could see. I needed to get the frame down. I'm quite happy with it. I think it's wandered slightly away from the age period I was trying to get, because in all of the colouring, which, you know, illuminated manuscripts and everything, but highly colourful. So I think I've got that down, but it starts to have almost this different feel to the overall thing. So I'm not sure about that thing, but there's no doubting it's beautiful. And on canvas, it's going to be kick-ass. It really is. I'm not doing less day job. No, my day job, if anything, is more hours. So why am I taking on multiple projects? I don't know. I'm actually thinking about hiring a colorist, Miss J, to be honest with you. At least, maybe having a colorist on this map here. Because that will enable me to actually take on more work. And kind of like, here, color that. And if I trust the colorist and they're really good, then we'll just split, you know, the commission 50-50. That's what I'm thinking about doing. I actually put out a call for a colorist on Instagram and Facebook, and I need to look at a couple of pieces from folks to see if this is going to be a good fit. I think, you know, Miss J, it's a good question. I think my free time at the moment has probably got way more crimped than it used to be years ago. Like, there was a time 2 or 3 years back that I would paint miniatures every single evening for hours. I can't do that nowadays. I'm lucky if I can paint once a week. The rest of the time is on maps, you know, and the Patreon and things like that. So I definitely think my personal time has shifted. If it used to be this much, it's now this much. And my time is highly regimented and scheduled. You know, it's like this day at this time you're doing this. This day at this time you're doing this. I already know what I'm doing for the weekend when it comes to maps. And, you know, so there's a lot of that going on right now. But I hope to bring in some talent, you know, to help with certain things like colouring. I kind of want to make this brush lighter. I kind of want to knock it down to 10 pixels. The problem is, at this size, I don't think you'd see them. They start to get lost. So I'm going to keep with what we've got. Now, we are currently drawing about 40 to 60 feet across. Our buildings are definitely getting smaller. I'm going to start drifting them into the slum area right now. Hey, girlfriend, how are you? Love you, Ala. It's good to see you here. Well, Miss J, I mean, the fact that I hired Pex to help with the social media side of things, he now is also keeping me honest with my schedule. You know, my Patreon isn't particularly large right now. I want it to be larger. So he's the force behind then ensuring that I am giving out all of the time what needs to be given out. So it's kind of forced me to be way more regimented with my time. And I meet with him like every Sunday morning. We plan out the week. It helps me, you know. It really helps me. But actually, conversely, it helps my patrons because it ensures that I am giving out good quality content on a timely basis. Because if I'm left to myself, seriously, freaking months will go by, and that's not good. So having someone sit on my shoulder going, "Oi, get this done," that helps. I need that, apparently. Alright, I'm not going to go too much smaller than this. Our slums can be this. Teeny, 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 tiny. And I'm going to introduce a few of them. But I think this is about as small as I'm going to get. Right about here. Because that's getting tiny right there. Alazilla trying to do some mapping of her own. Stop it, because you're freaking good at mapping and you'll make me jealous. Miss J, she is incredibly gifted. Like, she's actually a really good traditional artist who can happen to draw a freaking isometric dungeon. She's good. I'm very modest, which is nice, but she's very talented. Are you doing another isometric map, Ala? Are you really doing that after saying you wouldn't? Ala, do you have a link to the other isometric you did just to show Miss J? Yeah, Miss J, you've got the wanderer type of lifestyle. It's amazing how much you actually get packed in with what you do. But you've got a lifestyle I'm actually kind of a little bit envious of. I mean, honestly, got a little bit of freedom. I deeply envy that. And Miss J, Alazillo actually is another person with a full-time job. She and I have sort of similar occupations, actually. And here she is after the day job, drawing away. But she made the mistake of showing the world her talents, and now there's no way that she's ever going to be able to retire. Yeah, Miss J, I could understand that. I totally can. You know what? These buildings are gonna be ridiculous. But this map is gonna look freaking awesome when done. Alright, let's keep going. Let's hit save. You know, Alyssa, like, I'm going to have to check out Procreate. I am going to have to check out Procreate. I hate learning new tools, but I'm going to have to check it. Hey, Midwest. Damn good to see you. Midwest, we really gotta get a little joint painting session going on at some point. Like the painting podcast, you know? Alright, this is just kind of ridiculous now. But let's keep forging. In theory, Midwest, if you were sharing your paint setup that you normally do, I can share my paint setup that I normally do. We could combine them, or even have different setups if we want to zoom in on one person's work, and stream that. So we're both there at the same time with our own particular pieces of work that we're talking or doing. And then we're chatting away at the same time. That'd be kind of cool, I think. GL is working on some minutes. That's cool. I gotta be honest with you. I just like seeing people paint miniatures. I don't care what results you're getting. I don't care, you know, about any of that. If you're happy just like painting away, that's kind of therapeutic to me. It's kind of just all kinds of awesome, you know. I think I'm going to use this area as a test swatch of different building sizes and just make sure I feel good with it. Don't want to get too small. But strictly speaking, these are like 80 to 100 feet across. Not the teeny tiny ones. The teeny tiny ones are like 40 feet across. Which is kind of small. Thanks, Midwest. Look forward to seeing your progress on the Giant. Invite all of your fans over to your Discord, by the way. Let's create a little bit of community here, my friend. Miss J, with your crocheting, are you able to kind of like multitask so you could crochet and do something else like watch TV or play a game or something? Like a role-playing game. You do role-play, do you? 40 feet. Yeah, 13 meters. I'm judging this, by the way, of my living room. I think is 30 feet. And I figured that would not be a bad area to live in if you were kind of in a fantasy city. So 30 to 40 feet, you're probably doing okay. Yeah, Midwest Discord is kind of like a little bit of a learning curve. It's a little bit of a pain in the ass, but hit me up, man, and we'll just go through it together. Let's get our communities combined. You know what I'm saying? And Brian, good to see you here. Okay, Miss Jane. That's kind of what I figured. I have a friend that crochets, and he can actually, you know, play a role-playing game. And he's fully there, he's fully attentive, and he's just sitting there crocheting away. So here's a funny story for the mappers and artists in the chat. I posted one of my maps that I did in the past into a group somewhere. Got a little bit of traction, got a little bit of attention. Now this is one of the largest maps I've ever done, and one of the prettiest maps that I've ever done. It's a map, straight up map. And I had someone in the responses say, this is pretty good. I have a logo that I need you to do. It's fairly simple, should only take you an hour. A logo. PM me if you're interested. I'm like, but this is a map? Logos are logos? Why? What? Where? And don't you just love, too, the prospective client to tell you, it's simple, should only take you an hour. An hour. Getting out of bed in the morning takes me an hour. I'm not sure I ever actually want to work with a client who tells me how long something is going to take me to do. So tell me what you need, then I'll be the judge of what happens next. And don't ask me to do a logo. I've never done a logo, and I never want to do a logo. Ever. And Alyssa, you're right. You're absolutely right. Logos, a good logo, take exploration, design, iterations, explore some options. It takes a while to dial in a freaking logo. It's an hour? What the frick are you going to get in an hour? I mean, like, Jesus fuck. I mean, there's someone that's disconnected in multiple ways. To actually ask someone who draws maps for a living to do your logo is your first mistake. I mean, you've already hired the wrong talent. And then you're thinking it's going to take an hour? An hour? I'm not sure what I could get done in an hour. I mean, I guess I could do this in an hour. There you go, because I have. Like this little bit right here. I'll crop it into a circle. I'll get rid of the trace in the background. It's not coloured. Logo. It'd take me an hour just to pick the font, and it would be shit. I actually know someone who does logo design. But I'm not gonna give them to a client who expects the whole thing to be done in an hour. That's what certain channels on Fiverr are for. I kind of really want to lighten up this brush. I really, really, really do. Just a smidge. I'm gonna drop to 15. I'm gonna try it, just so I can get a little bit of dialing in of some details. Wasn't there? Did someone create a Papyrus Comic Sans crossover? That would be the boss. Brian, I could actually see you having the skill set for a logo. You're way more engineer to your maps than I am. You're precise. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying that logos need to be precise, but you're able to have crisp, sharp lines. I don't do that. I will go so far, guys, to say that I have no interest ever of creating a logo. I have as much interest in creating a logo as I do getting into Alazilla's world of like traditional illustration. It's like, no, I'm just not even going to go there. It's like, you may as well ask me to lay out your RPG book for you or something. It's like, just because I play RPGs, just because my map's in an RPG, doesn't mean that I can actually then do anything else to do with it. I've had that a few times though. Miss J, you must have as well. Brian, you must have, although I think your skill set is more versatile than mine. But, you do maps, and it's a map that you put out there, and based upon that map, someone asks you if you will draw, a dragon flying over a city or something, and it's like, how did you get from this to this? The logo's the most extreme that I think I've had in a while. Miss J, how are you when okay, so city, fine, right? Town, fine. I would like you to draw a city up on a hill from the side as if you're standing there on a boat on the river looking up at it. At that point, I'm like, that's just illustration at that stage. That's not a map anymore. Don't hire me. Literally, don't hire me. I think sometimes people want to work with you so badly. Like, they're so enamored by whatever work you've just put in front of them that they're like, that's incredible. That colouring is absolutely beautiful. Will you do a, mosaic on my pool floor for me? Yeah, the map that turns into illustration, I get you on that one. Yeah, I've had that one. I'm fighting the scale of these buildings quite a bit. I gotta be honest with you. I think as I come down towards the bottom of the map here, I think I'm going to start trying to make some of the buildings a little bit bigger. Apartment blocks, things like that. Multiple buildings joined together. Let's not do too many teeny tiny buildings here. For the slum area, for the poorer area, I think it's fine. But if we can't get a little bit of building sass going on, then we're kind of missing what we like to do. So Brian, all right, yeah. Alyssa, you say that, and I appreciate that. I really, really, really do. But, I think that there's... okay, I'll answer that in a couple of ways. I think I have been stretching my skill set recently, and you've seen it. The cutaway and the block, or the isometric castle that I did. They're all firsts, right? They are firsts for me. And a year or two ago, I would have said, no freaking way, that's illustration, get out of here. So I kind of ended up getting backed into that by accident, but enjoyed the experience. Borders like that, sure, that's illustration, but it's also different than draw an apple, or draw your hand, or draw this person's face. It's almost, that's a different skill set. I can't do that. Random patterns, an abstract deer, that's one thing. But if you said draw a deer, I wouldn't be able to do it. If you said draw a deer shape, that I can do. In the same way that I could do cartoons and caricatures, Miss J, I think you've got some good frames and borders, you do. There was one that I saw on one of your recent maps, and it was elegantly simple. I think it was almost like a line with a little twist at the end, or something. And it was just in its simplicity and elegance, It was really, really, really nice. This map is probably going to have the same border of my Rigodon and my Lukatoy, but then I'm incapable, I think, of actually coming up with an alternative that feels Greek, if that makes sense. Because this has got to have a Greek feel. Yeah, Michelle, it's a good frame. It's a good frame. Because the Salt Walls of the Whale Road, it's almost like it has to be about the frame. Right? The frame has to be a big, huge part of what we're doing. And I don't think I've ever had a map like that before. But coming up with a simple frame that frames the artwork without distracting from the artwork, that's art right there. That's a fine balance. And I do like what you're doing with that. I will admit. Yeah, actually, like picture frame matting, exactly. I think being able to do a good frame, and I'm not talking about super decorative and everything. I mean, that's art. That is 100% art. But being able to do a frame that fits what you've drawn sometimes is way less than super decorative, right? It's like you say, it's a mat. I'm not good at picking mats either. I go to the framing shop and say, well, I don't know, what do you think, Mr. Framer? Because you're the expert around here. I just can't do it myself. That's probably, honestly, something that you could even do as a map pack, you know? A collection of frames. Different aspect ratios, perhaps. But a collection of frames going from several simplistic ones. And I actually really like the simplistic ones, but several simplistic ones to maybe a medium one. Just like, there you go. That would be a good project, that, to work on. So that building is like 160 feet across. That means that this wharf is 160 feet across. That's a big freaking wharf. That's a big wharf. Well, if the wharf's that big, it has a building on it. Without a doubt, it would have a building on it. Yeah, I like that. I like that. You know, Mystery, I keep forgetting that you've got the photography background. And I think that's an incredibly complementary skill set. You're right. You're 100% right. You know, at college, I studied graphic communication. And there was a photography class. And my main study, whatever it was, did not include the photography class. Like, I completely skipped photography my entire life. And yeah, I think it's huge. Ms. J did one subject of environmental interpretation and looked at how to display info for tourists as part of that. See, that's an interesting subject. That's an interesting subject. That's kind of cool, actually. So I was sent to college as part of a sandwich course, which Jay's probably familiar with. But it's basically, you go to, it wasn't college, it was like, polytechnic. It's basically polytechnics universities, but a polytechnic, so like the technical side of things. And I was actually in the printing industry. I was like the first major job I had. And so they sent me off on the sandwich course. You have a job, you're getting paid. You're getting paid a lesser wage, but you're getting paid even when you're at college, so to speak, using American terms. And you do like 3 months at college, you would do 3 months then back on your job where you're meant to apply the things that you've learned at college. And they had a whole bunch of us apprentices there, but we were all working in slightly different crafts, right? I'm on a print machine, and you've got others who are part of the plate making process. So while I learned a little bit about plate making, only the plate makers went to photography class. I'm like, come on. I went to the CAD-CAM class, which, is fine. CAD-CAM was interesting. I had fun with it, but I feel like I missed out on, like, the interesting stuff. Taffy. We have Taffy over here. Works like that with some apprenticeships. Yeah, okay. I tell you what, I mean, at least everyone I've spoke to here in the United States have never heard of anything like Taffy or the sandwich course. And I would explain, no, you'd go away to university, you would study, then you'd come back for a few weeks or a month or 3 months, and you would apply what you've learned, and you'd go back to university. And I think it's a great idea. It was wonderful for me. My sister dropped out of the print like after about a year or two, so she never actually completed the whole thing. But it was good. It was a good part of my life, It was good. How do I want to do this? I'm gonna keep framing my roads. I think that's what I'm gonna do. Let's create some little workshop areas. It's different than an internship. Well, is it? Well, it's paid. But I think it is different in a way, because actually, imagine an internship. If the internship lasted, let's say, 3 years, and was a combination of, let's say, 2 months working, 2 months at university, like completely separate class time and then job. So it's not just like an internship during summer or something. It's like literally, January to February, you're on the job. That's it. You are on the job. And then March and April, you're actually back at university, classwork. And then May and June, maybe July, because the periods varied. So like a long internship, but with very distinct class time job time. It was like that, and it was great, to be honest with you. It was great. But first and foremost, I mean, like, all of our let's call them interns, we were paid. We were paid a lesser amount, but we were paid. So we didn't need part-time jobs or anything like that. We were freaking university, going to bars and stuff, like, money, no problem. It's like, so that was kind of neat. And of course, work is paying for your lodgings and everything. They're paying for your course itself. Now, the only downside is you have no say in what you're going to study. You know, that your place of work is telling you. Mine, like I said, was graphic communications. And then the individual sort of things that were part of that course, I had no say in it. So I got to take math, CAD-CAM. You know, there was all of these classes that were kind of part of it. That I just got to suck up and do it. And you had to freaking perform too, because you're being paid to be there. So if you started to like flunk exams or something like that, your place of work would have a word with you. You know what I mean? You could potentially get fired. Okay, so yeah, a little bit like what you were doing as a plumber there, Brian. But yeah, imagine way more distinct separation between the class time and the plumbing time. But like that. Like that. The Australian military does something like that? Okay, that's cool. So they'll pay your uni fees, you attend uni and do military training in your spare time, and maybe commit to some extra time after studies are finished. Okay, okay, okay. I don't think I would change that part of my life. That part of my life worked out pretty damn well. I think it was a good opportunity for me to get that further education while getting paid. You know, basically full-time employment. It's hard to fault something like that. I think, honestly, if I was going to change any part of my life in that era, it would just literally it'd be just a different job, you know, a completely different job. But that gets into a whole different subject. Pursuing different career goals and things like that. As a kid, I wanted to be so badly a policewoman or Quincy, because I used to watch a lot of Quincy. And what was he, a pathologist or something? I wanted to be a pathologist. And then my school years advanced to a point where you could actually do dedicated biology, and I was not very good at it, and we spent a huge amount of time talking about plant stigmas or whatever, and I decided biology wasn't for me, which basically left me being a policewoman, and that's something that just never panned out. I often wonder what my life would be like if I had become a policewoman, if I had have actually gone down that route. I should be drawing my towers before I actually draw anything else there. I'm going to leave that corner. Medical examiner for Brian. That's a good one. Well, actually, no, not for you. That's what you. But that's what Quincy was. Okay, it's very possible. You know, I was 12 or 13 and watching Quincy, and I got this pathologist in my head, but I know it's wrong. And I don't know what the right term is, because I've been with it for like 40 years now, you know, this incorrect word floating around in my head. But medical examiner. Whoever cuts up bodies and inspects them at the end. I want to say the likes of Quincy, Starsky and Hutch, Kojak, Columbo, even the Rockford Files to an extent. I watched these shows when I was quite young, like 8, 10 years of age, and I was at my great-great-grandma's house, and she had a TV, and you were allowed to sit, because you were the kid, in her living room while the adults were like in the dining room or whatever, chatting and talking, whatever they did. And you were sat on grandma's couch, which still had the plastic on it. You know the type, right? And I would watch Laurel and Hardy, so much Laurel and Hardy, but also all of these older shows, Columbo's, Quincy's, and you know they stayed with me as I was getting a little bit older. But I had such a huge American influence on me, huge American influence as I was growing up. No wonder I ended up in America. And thinking about it, Chips was the other one. I wanted to be a motorcycle cop so bad. I am such a beast for getting influenced by the things around her. Such a beast. What's a show? I want to do that as a job. You know, a way to colour something like this might actually be to colour the whole damn thing and then colour in the roads. That might be an approach. Versus colouring in individual buildings. Huh. Colour points of interest separately, of course. But don't actually colour individual buildings. I think I might have to try something like that with this. GL still watches Rockford Files, Columbo. They were such great shows. The Kojak, Starsky and Hutch. Miss J wanted to be an architect. Why are you glad that you didn't become an architect? Because that's quite the career, or is it not? Oh, counting bricks, says Miss J. Okay, okay. Being an architect was never something that even crossed my mind, to be honest with you. You know, out of all of the occupations that you think about as a kid, that was never one of them. Viantek's father-in-law was an architect. A big firm stole the bulk of his designs. What the hell? And a court battle broke him. Oh, kidding me. Man, life just has a way of... life can be wonderful. The world can be wonderful. And then you hear about stories like that and you realise that there is a rotten side to this apple, isn't there? There is really a rotten side. That sucks. I'm sorry, man. Miss J worked as a drafty for an architect for a couple of years. Hated counting bricks. The number of downpipes and guards. Oh, literally counting bricks and downpipes, electrical and plumbing plans. And the stairs. Yeah. Alright, yeah. I got nothing for that type of shady deals, Brian. I mean, that just sucks so bad. All right, this is mental, but it's definitely taking shape. It is freaking ridiculous, though. But we've made reasonable progress on the tiniest buildings in the city. I can see them getting bigger after this. Yeah, Mister, you kind of got a the best of both worlds in a way, right? You get to create, plan, draw, but no one is counting anything. That's the best way. Right, I'm gonna leave those hollows for a moment. I'm gonna head over that direction, and I think so. This is gonna be a little bit of a military area. I'm gonna do a couple of larger military style buildings on the outside of it, and then I'm gonna start going off into slums, I think. Yeah, let's do it. You better. You know, you've heard this before if you've been on the stream a short while, but I almost ended up in the computer game industry. I was too young to understand what was going on at the time, but I submitted a game design, several I think, to a very early at the time gaming industry. There's nothing like it is now. And they liked my design so much they wanted me to go down to London to talk to them about it. And I never went because I was scared of even broaching the subject with my mom and dad. And that's probably the type of thing where if I had a gun, my life might be very different now. Because a company doesn't offer to pay for you to go down to London to talk to you without them being seriously interested. But I was young. I was like 14 or 15, you know. Maybe I'm misremembering. Maybe it was more like 15 or 16, but I was still at school. I kind of want to do something in that corner, but I don't know what, so I'm going to leave it for now. I'm going to start taking... So this area here, I'm going to make military-like. And it's going to start getting into some larger buildings. We're going to have some big docks or big warehouses and the likes over here. So I feel like with this wall, and we'll have some towers here, we would start... Like, maybe there'd be a little bit of a... military sort of towers, etc. here, just to sort of stop you coming in, complexes, buildings, you know, maybe some administrative buildings, so to speak, you know, but that's going to fade towards the lesser city over in that direction. And so I think that we're going to start positioning on our slums like here. So I'm going to start fading into that right now. Yeah, Miss J. I'm not even sure if I've had many what-ifs in my life, but that was a definite crossroads. That was a crossroads. That was an absolute crossroads for me. And it was literally, I didn't want to talk to my mum and dad about it. I mean, I can't even tell you why. It's not like my mum and dad would be angry. My mum and dad were always very supportive. But maybe I couldn't figure out the logistics in my head, and I couldn't understand how, you know, I'd get to London, and they're certainly not going to allow me to go to London on my own. So maybe I got like nervous even broaching the subject to them. But a definite what if. Maybe if I had approached it with my mum and dad, maybe they would have got excited. Maybe they would have helped me sort of, you know, get down there. And then who knows what would have happened. Who knows. But also, this was the 80s. I mean, this was literally the 80s. And the gaming industry that is out there today was nowhere near out there back then. But I always wonder, would I have been in a very early fledgling game industry, maybe bounced between companies as they're sort of beginning to fail and reform and merge, and would I have ended up as some kind of, you know, senior level person in a game company like Electronic fucking Arts somewhere, you know? Who knows? Who knows? Or maybe he's still drawing maps on the side, huh? Maybe he's still drawing maps on the side. Yeah, maybe that part wouldn't have changed much. Because, I mean, my entry into drawing maps was in the 80s. I was drawing for myself and my own group. We were drawing for our own games, and that wasn't going to change. That was still going to be a thing. And then it was because I actually shared my maps with, you know, social media when that became a thing, that anyone ever took notice of what I was doing. So maybe that wouldn't have changed. With everything you know now, not like history and shit like that, but Like, now you've lived a life. Is there anything that you would... Is there a job that you would do instead? Like, I half feel like maybe I should have pursued the police force. Because it was such a passion of mine. Like, it was a serious passion. And I am amazed to this day that I never actually... I didn't even interview for the police. I went on police courses to bolster my resume for when I did interview with the police, and I never interviewed with the police. And it breaks my brain, and I think my life just took a different path, you know? It was one of those, you need to be earning now, girl, if you're going to live under our roof. So, became a chambermaid. It was one of my first jobs. And then, of course, you know, you go through college and everything, and before you know it, I'm like, you know, my sister's saying, hey, they're hiring where I'm working right now, you should apply. And I'm applying, and I got the job. And now I've got a job that has nothing to do with the police force. But I was passionate about being a policewoman. Passionate. Like, my entire life was, like, geared to that moment. And I never sat down and did a fucking interview. It's so bizarre. Although I think I should have become a bloody lawyer. I know so many retired lawyers. I'm like, that is a job I should have done. Get a little bit of coin in my bloody pocket. Brian would have stayed with the Air Force. That's a good one. Honestly, I actually... That's one thing I always wonder about too. Because if you could do some years with one of the services, you know, if you're assuming that you come out honorably, you're kind of okay. You're kind of set. You know what I'm saying? I don't feel set for the future, like, at all. I have a great deal of doubt about my future. And I wish I'd done more proactive planning in that way. Hey, David P. Glass. You know what? I'm sorry. David P. Glass. I'm sorry, man. I actually turned that feature off. I turned that off. I was looking through moderator functions earlier on, and I was like, I'm going to allow someone to spam emotes. I turned that off. So I'm sorry that Claudius is still being a bit of a dick. Good to see you here. Miss J tried a few different things. If I could go back now, I would just stop mapping earlier. Alright. $59 messages? Holy shit! Did Claudius literally just strip Miss J out of the channel? Woo! Oh, Alazella, you were doing freelancing when you were younger? I think that's one of the things, isn't it? You know, if you're freelancing, you then seek stability. And when you have stability, you seek freedom. It's kind of like a shit catch-22. iClaudius absolutely is freaking vicious. I'm probably gonna have to look at the options a little bit more to see, you know, what automatic modding or mod tools. You see, well, here you go. I don't think this is going to reveal anything. Here's our cloud bot right here. And I have all of these turned off. Here's emote protection right here and word protection. But like the only one I have turned on is symbol protection. Restricts viewers from spamming messages with too many symbols. Well, you know what? I'm turning that off right now too. And what would that do? So, permit subscribers. Okay, punishments, purge. Purge, timeout, and ban. So you could do a timeout, maybe for 1 second. Send punishment message, sure. But I've just actually turned that off. So, I don't know. Maybe try the purge. The purge apparently is a default setting. So maybe try spamming some messages. Alizilla, you remind me actually of I got into web programming, and this is around the year 2000, if not a little earlier. And one of my first clients, I actually ended up sending the check back to them. I'm like, I'm not working for you. This is absolutely fucking terrible. There can be some horrible clients, and it almost completely got me out of it. It's like freelancing web programming. Go for it, Miss J. Go, 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 go. Simple, 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 simple. And this was like the 2000s, so like the web was new. I had a client that literally wanted like 3 pages or 5 pages to a website, but they didn't want a navigation between them. You had to click on something to go to the second page and click on something to go to the third page, and you couldn't go back to the first page. They had such a warped sense for how a website should work, and they wanted every page to have a coloured background. But I'm talking about roses and shit, like the type of shit that your grandma would come up with, and every page had to have a different coloured background. It just got so bad about what they were doing. I was like, yeah, I'm not putting my name on this. No, get out. All right, Miss J, we got you. We got you. I'm sorry you were purged. Oh, listen, at the same client. Wouldn't that be funny? Wouldn't that be funny? They bounce from you to me or me to you. That would be so funny. The true story for me is a local company, a local tech company did not have a web designer. And so they contacted me and, you know, they had me come in and talk to them for their needs. And then the owner, like, it's just one of those happenstance fucking meetings of the right person at the right time. The owner was like, would you come work for me? So instead of being a contractor for them, it was like, can we hire you? And I don't know what possessed me, but I got all cocky and I was like, Sam, I don't think you can afford me. And he was like, why don't you write down a price on that piece of paper over there and just slide it across? So it's surreal. It was like something out of a movie. I'm a freaking freelance web designer, for Christ's sake. Like all of like a year of experience behind me. I'm using Drumbeat 2000. So I wrote down a number, I pushed it across. It's like, yeah, we could do that. And that started my tech career. Literally. I swear it was because I was an English woman in America. I swear. And this was the Deep South. This was Louisiana. It's like, yeah, she's got an accent. She sounds posh. Let's hire her. It was ridiculous. Okay, so we've definitely got smaller buildings going on there. I'm going to continue this sprawl a little bit. What sort of time we got? Yeah, we're kind of going a little bit late. I'm going to do a little bit more of this. Sprawl. I have a zombie horde to fight off with Alazilla in 7 days to die. We'll get some little micro shacks in here because we've kind of got at least a little bit. Alright, let me just finish this little quadrant and then I'm going to go get myself eaten by some zombies. So no stream tomorrow, because we don't stream on Thursdays. I'm doing long form content, or short form content, for YouTube. Watch for a review of Cat's Cradle for Frog God Games. Maybe another little how-to spicy. And maybe I will even review one of my own maps, all coming to YouTube shortly. Friday is my Patreon hangout for drawing Rome, by the way. We are literally drawing Rome and we're making it historically accurate. Mark Greenberg tends to join us, and he keeps me super honest as we dig out the tomes and draw Rome pixel perfect. Actually, that looks pretty good. I think that looks okay. I think that looks okay. I'm going to hit save because it's been a while. Those buildings are definitely teeny tiny, but I think you get a sense of a little bit of a slum in that area, a little bit of a sprawl going on. I'm okay with that. We can't do the whole city like that. Even I will go nuts if we continue on that sort of scale. I'm going to probably make some of the buildings a little bit larger, but here's the deal. This is meant to feel almost like Greece when it's been occupied by the Romans, so there's going to be some villas and things like that. There are going to be some compounds here. So we're definitely going to be making some larger buildings. I'm going to try and make an effort to merge into the slightly larger ones so that our buildings are a little bit more like those two right there for the most part. Yeah, this is looking good. So thank you every single one of you for hanging out with me tonight. I really do appreciate it. Huge amount of love to you. I'm now going to get in my gym jams and get ready to beat on some zombies. Everyone have a fantastic weekend. Thank you if you're a Twitch subscriber. Thank you if you're a Patreon backer. And ultimately, thank you for being here with me tonight. I'm back on Monday. Don't know what we're going to be working on. Maybe Salt Walls of the Whale Road, but that one's going to be winding down here shortly. But you will see me next week. Until then, check me out on YouTube, Alyssa Faden Studios. I love you. I'll see you all on the flip side. Good night.